Hello guys, welcome once more to another video in our YouTube channel. It's been long. I did pure mathematics, so this question was proposed to me by one of the students in our GC revision groups. So I just thought it wise to do a video explaining such concepts so that whenever you're faced with problems like this, you know exactly what to do. So this question is on polynomials and is basically on the application of the factor and the remainder theorem. So the question reads, given that x plus 2 is a factor of f of x, where f of x is x cubed minus x squared plus kx plus 4, find the value of k and hence factorize f of x completely. If you're joining us for the first time, endeavor to subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video with your friends, and also comment in the comment section. Alright, so without wasting much of your time, let us get started. Alright, so we are going to begin with the first part of the question, which is asking us to find the value of k. Now we have a very important information to use to find the value of k, and that information is x plus 2 is a factor of f of x. Now by definition, x plus 2 is a factor of f of x if and only if f of negative 2 is equal to 0. Now this means that if I take f of x and I divide by x plus 2, the remainder is 0. And basically, for us to get the remainder when a polynomial is divided by a linear factor, we have to solve the linear factor equal to 0. We get the value of x, then we can place that value of x into the polynomial. The resulting answer is that remainder. So if I solve x plus 2 to be equal to 0, x will give me negative 2. If I replace negative 2 back into the polynomial, the resulting answer is my remainder. Now I've been told that x plus 2 is a factor, that is why my remainder must give me 0. Alright, so this will just help us to get the value of k. So f of negative 2 is equal to 0 means that negative 2 cubed minus negative 2 squared plus k times negative 2 plus 4 is equal to 0. Now we have to simplify here. We have negative 8 minus negative 2 squared is 4. Negative 2 times k is negative 2k, then plus 4 equal to 0. We just realized that negative 4 plus 4 is equal to 0. So we are going to be left with negative 8 minus 2k is equal to 0. If we add 8 on both sides, we get negative 2k equal to 8, which means that k is equal to negative 4. Now the next question is asking us to factorize f of x completely. Now this basically entails us finding all the factors of f of x. Now we already have a linear factor of f of x, so we are left to get a quadratic factor. Then we check if that quadratic factor can also be factorized, because the question does not say factorize f of x, it said factorize f of x completely. So we are going to go through a very peculiar method called synthetic division. Now this is an alternative way to long division. I know most of you guys know how to perform long division, so here I am going to show you synthetic division. And be mindful about the fact that this particular method I am showing you, or this particular strategy, works only when your divisor is a linear factor. Alright, if your divisor is a quadratic or cubic, it has its own way of doing it. And also when the coefficients of the coefficients in f of x are all whole numbers, alright, so this method is always going to work. Like I said, most of you guys can do long division to get the quotient, which will be quadratic, because you are going to be dividing cubic by linear, so you must have a polynomial of degree 2 as your quotient, and a polynomial of degree 2 is called a quadratic. And like I said, you guys know how to do long division, so I'm going to show you an alternative way to long division, which is shorter. It's going to help you in paper 1, and yes, it is acceptable in the GCE. Alright, so let's go. So the first thing we are going to do is that we are going to write out the coefficients of x cubed, of x squared, of x, and of the constant in descending order, only the coefficients. Alright, so the coefficient of x cubed is 1, the coefficient of x squared is -1, the coefficient of x is k, which is -4, and the coefficient of the constant is 4. Now if there was a missing variable here, we are going to put its coefficient as 0. Like for example, if it was x cubed plus kx, it means that the term in x squared is missing, so its coefficient is going to be replaced with 0. Anyways, these are my coefficients. This is the coefficient of x cubed, the coefficient of x squared, the coefficient of x, which is k, but we have found out that k is -4, and the coefficient of the constant. Now the next thing to do is that we are going to solve the divisor equal to 0, and we get the value of x. Clearly the value of x is equal to -2. I put it on the left hand side. Alright, so this is what I have. Now what we are going to do is that we are going to do a series of multiplication and addition, but you have to take note that the very first coefficient is always brought down. Alright, so the first coefficient is 1, so I bring 1 down. Now what I do is that I take 1 times -2, it gives me -2. Then I add, I take -1 plus -2, it gives me -3. I do the process again. -3 times -2 is +6. -4 plus +6 is +2. And finally, 2 times -2 is -4, and 4 plus -4 is 0. Now clearly from here, this 0 here is actually the remainder when f of x is divided by x plus 2. Alright, the remainder is 0, and basically it is because x plus 2 was a factor or is a factor of f of x. So this 0 here is my remainder. Now what is my quotient? Since I am dividing a polynomial of degree 3 by a polynomial of degree 1, my quotient is going to be a quadratic. So this 1 here will be the coefficient of x squared, -3 will be the coefficient of x, and 2 will be the coefficient of the constant. And generally my f of x will just be equal to the product of x plus 2 and the quotient. So we are going to have f of x to be equal to x plus 2 times 1x squared minus 3x plus 2. Like I said, -3 is just a coefficient of x, 1 is a coefficient of x squared, and 2 is a coefficient of the constant. So this is what we have. Now, have we factorized completely? We don't know yet. We now have to check if x squared minus 3x plus 2 can be factorized again. If it can be factorized, we go ahead to factorize it. Alright, if it can't be factorized, then we end here and conclude that this is the most factorized form of f of x. So let us check if x squared minus 3x plus 2 can be factorized. Now to check it, just try to get a discriminant. If the discriminant is positive or 0, it means that it can be factorized. Our discriminant here is -3 squared minus 4 times 1 times 2. That is 9 minus 8, which is 1. 1 is positive, so it can be factorized. Now we go ahead to factorize it. So we need to find the factors of 2. Then when we add, we have -3, and when we multiply, we have 2. The factors are -2 and -1. Now we need to break down -3x into the sum or the difference of those two factors. Alright, so we are going to have -3x to be written as -2x plus -1x. Then now we need to add 2 so that the two sides should be equal. Now from the first two terms, x is common, and from the next two terms, the negative sign is common. I'm removing the negative sign because I already have an x minus 2 as a factor from the first two terms. So extracting the negative sign from x and from +2, I'll be left with x minus 2. Now, since from these two terms x minus 2 is common, once I factorize x minus 2, I'll be left with x here, and I'll be left with -1. So at the end of the day, we can say that our f of x is equal to x plus 2 times x minus 2 times x minus 1. So this is the factorized form, the most factorized form of f of x, and with this we have factorized f of x completely. If you are now later asked to solve the equation f of x equal to 0, we are just going to equate these three factors to be 0, and we are going to have x equal to -2, x equal to 2 and x equal to 1 as the three solutions of the equation f of x equal to 0. You can also be asked to solve the inequality f of x greater than 0 or f of x less than 0. Anyways, in the upcoming video, I'll introduce a problem which will require us to solve inequalities after factorizing completely. Thank you guys for watching. If you have a question, the comment section is open. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. See you guys in the next video. Stay blessed.